Hey guys, Mr. V here with a quick video tutorial on Google Draw. I'm going to start out today on the agenda for yearbook, and as you can see here, Miss Thurber, she wants you guys to create a poster, an inspirational poster using color and space. And so that's going to be your assignment for the next couple of days. And so I just want to give you guys a quick tutorial. You can see here you're going to be doing it with either Canva or Google Draw. And a lot of you guys are pretty familiar with Canva, but today I want to give you a quick tutorial on Google Draw because some of you guys might be unfamiliar with it. It's actually a really fun, easy to use program. So right here under the applications that you're going to be using, we have both Canva and Google Draw. I'm just going to follow the link to the Google Draw website, which is obviously a Google website. If I click, it'll just take over the page with the agenda. So I'm going to right click on the link and choose Open Link in a new tab. So if you see here, it'll take you right to the Google site. You just click inside of there. And notice that Google Draw is actually a Google application, just like Google Slides, Google Docs, all that other kind of stuff. And you see here it's got the little red icon. So what's really cool about this is you can see here on this other tab I've got my Google Drive open. If we go back to Google Draw and we title this, I'm going to just title this Mr. V. We'll put, we're using color and space poster. Okay, once you actually title your work, if we go back to, as long as you're signed in to your Google account, you'll see that this will actually go right into your Google Drive. It's not showing up because I need to refresh the page. Okay, so right here you can see that it actually saved that Google that Google Draw document just the way it would save any other kind of like Google Docs or anything else. So that's really cool about Google Draw. First of all, I almost said Google Drive, but I meant Google Draw. Alrighty. So first off, we're just going to go through some basics. The first thing you need to probably learn about is how to size or format. You can actually come down here and change the size if you wanted to make it more of like a letter, I guess, portrait size. But we can actually do is go under File. And for me, I like this because it's more precise. And right here above the Print button, you'll see right here we've got Page Setup. You're going to click Page Setup. And I actually want to use 8.5 by 11. So that's how you would set up your document first of all. And of course we want to choose inches. And you would do that by going under Custom. Okay, and then you just choose Apply. And that will give us a perfect 8.5 by 11 document to start off with. Okay, so what we really want to do is just cover the basics of like formatting, which I just showed you. Lines, texture, value, color, shape, and text, just to kind of get you started for the whole week for both assignments that we're going to have this week. So what I want to do is kind of, I want to start off with a colored background. And what you can do is basically right-click on any open space, and we'll go down to background, and we are going to, I don't like to use some of these basic colors. I want to create my own color. So I'm just going to create the little custom, the plus sign that says custom. And I want to do something maybe kind of muted. Maybe like a red color or something like that. Something kind of medium toned, not too bright, but not too dark either. And I'm just going to click OK. And that'll basically fill the background with that color. Okay. And so over here, up on the top, you see we have lots of tools. We've got the arrow tool, which is basically used to select. We have a line tool, which we can use to draw lines. Underneath there is actually lots of different cool options. There's a shape tool with different kinds of shapes. And then there's a text tool that we can use to draw text. You can also insert images and stuff like that. Okay, and actually I'm going to go back to my arrow tool because I didn't mean to drop a text box, and I'm just going to click on that and hit the delete key, and that'll get rid of that for now. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is show you the line tool, how that kind of works. And it's actually really cool because lines can be used for lots of different things. And if you go and watch the other tutorial video that we linked onto the agenda page, you'll see that guy. He goes way more into depth. So if you want to learn how to really do some really cool stuff, go and watch that video. And he does some really cool stuff with shapes and lines. But just for now, we're talking about basically color and space. And so, but I also want to show you guys some stuff about texture and value and all of the basics because I want to kind of show you for the whole week of things that you can do. So I'm just going to draw. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to choose the line tool right here, and then I'm just going to click and drag, kind of like this. Okay, and basically. I just want that line to kind of go across the whole thing. You're going to be able to use your imagination and draw whatever you want to draw. But this is just kind of to show you an example. And I'm going to take the arrow tool. And notice the arrow, when you click on the arrow tool, that's what you use to select. You can actually go to the edge and, move it back and forth. When you see that little cross pop up, that's going to let you move whatever element you have selected with the arrow. And or you can actually, when the box is selecting around it, you can actually use the arrow tools to move those back and forth. Alright, so I want to do something kind of like that. And then actually I want to keep that selected. It's kind of hard to click. And then I'm going to hit Command C to copy and then Command V to paste. And you can see here I end up with basically another line that I can, move around with the arrow tool. And I'm just going to keep, basically keep copying that same line. And you can see here you are able to create a lot of dimension, and you could even use your imagination. You could use lines to even create texture. You could, draw a bunch of lines and move them crossways over each other to create like texture. So here you can see this is just kind of like a basic kind of an illusion that I'm creating with these lines here. I'm going to copy and paste one more line, and let me see. And then as long as I'm on this arrow tool, I can click and move stuff around. So something like this. Just kind of separate everything. And you can see here I'm creating, basically what I'm doing is I'm creating the illusion of, I guess, perspective, I think is what we would call this. Kind of like there's a plane that's moving into the very background. Cool. I think this one can come up just a little bit. Lines separate the further, or the closer they get, or I guess you could say they compress together the further away that they get. So I'm going to come over here and I want to click out a text tool, and you'll see here whenever you click out a text box that all of these other options for text will appear. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to just, for the sake of the tutorial, type out color and space. Cool. And then I'm going to highlight my text, and this basically works exactly the same way as all the other stuff we've used. I want something pretty big, and I want it to all be on the same line. So I'm going to extend my text box here. And awesome. I also want to change the font. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to put this like on Oswald because I always think that's kind of a cool looking font. And then I actually want to change just the font of the and symbol to maybe something kind of cursive looking, and maybe we can make that even bigger. So something like that I think is pretty cool. And maybe we could change the color of the text. something that will pop out. And then actually I want to now align this text with my line design. So I'm going to come over here to this little, you see this little dot at the top? That's going to let you rotate. Okay, pretty cool, right? So if you use your imagination, you'll be surprised of what you can actually do. Okay, and I think that looks really cool. Awesome. Actually, you know what? We might go ahead and leave that black. That way it matches the lines. All right. I like that. Okay. And then, so I'm not going to go very far, just enough to show you guys some cool stuff. All right. And then I think what I want to do is, because we're talking about color and space today as well, I want to come over here back to the line tool, and you can see right here there's this thing called polyline that will allow you to kind of do like we have done in Photoshop before, where you can do like a shape but you're like connecting the dots. And I kind of want to create something that will create a shape like this, just to cover over where the lines are. Now you see here that that default filled because I had set my bucket tool to fill that already. But I want to come over here. You could also do transparent, so that way you can just not see anything. Or what I want to do is actually choose a gradient. And you can see here that if I chose this gradient, you can see that it gets lighter from the middle and then darker towards the outside. I actually want it to get lighter from back there, back in the distance, so to speak, and then get darker as it comes to the front. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose, you can see right here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's like the gradient goes from the middle to the edge, but on these at the top, the gradient is light at the top and then dark at the bottom. So I'm going to go with something like that, and I like that. And so if we're actually talking about color and value is kind of using color to create distance and space. And things in the distance are always lighter than things in the foreground. So I also want to come in here and, whoops, I'm drawing a new shape. I did not mean to do that. I'm going to hit delete. Okay, now what I want to do is come to my arrow tool and select this shape. So actually what I want to do, if I want to kind of put a gradient in there, then I'm going to have to pick a color that's similar to the background here. I'm going to go with this kind of purplish color. And then what I want to do is actually let's go with custom. And I'm going to, I'm clicked on this square, which is basically the light part. And I'm going to come over here and pick that same color. And then I'm going to click, this was the same color I picked at the beginning that I chose for the background. Then for the foreground color is this square. I'm going to click on that. You can see this box changed. And I want to go with something a little darker, okay? So as you can see, actually let's go with something kind of bright. So basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of matching those original colors that I came up with at the beginning, and then we'll just hit OK. So you can see here that this this gradient I picked, the first color matches more of the background, and then the foreground is like a darker color. So you're like, okay, Mr. V, but you covered up your lines. So what I can do is, I actually wanted to do this on purpose to show you guys that even though in Google Draw you don't have layers, but you do have arrangement. So if you go over here to arrange and then order, you can say send backward or send to back. Send backward, you have to go and click that over and over again to kind of send it back behind every element. So that takes some time to do if you have like lots of elements. But if you want to just send it to the very back in one step, you would click send to back. So check that out. So now I have my gradient behind all of those previous elements. If you want to have to save yourself some time, you could actually create the gradient or whatever you're going to do that's going to be in the background first, and then create all of your lines or shapes or whatever you're going to design on top of that. So that is basically it. You could also come in and throw in some shapes. There's some like really cool stars that I had seen earlier. And so yeah, you can really just use your imagination and create just using all of those um, basic things, because the whole point is to show the elements of design, but using basic elements, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's just some cool things you can do like that. And so as you can see here in this one tutorial, even though I showed you really just some basic stuff, it really covers all of the fundamentals of design, which would be line, texture, value, color, shapes, text. All of that stuff can be done inside of here. So awesome, guys. The last thing that I want to show you, and basically if we go back to our Google Drive, which you would do that, and then it actually updated already, but if you don't see it update, you can always refresh your page. And you can see my Google drawing is right here inside of my Google Drive. You could right click and download, or you could actually share it when it comes time to turn in the assignment, the same way that you would share a Google Doc or anything else. But if you're skeptical to do that, what you could actually do, which might be even easier, is you can come over here to File, and then you can come over to Download, and you can download this as a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG. And let's just say, I want to download this as a JPEG. That's downloading. That's going to go straight to my downloads folder. And then I could actually, once I download it onto my computer, I could come into Echo and drop it into the Dropbox. So guys, that's basically it. If you have any questions about Google Draw, you can message or email me or Miss Thurber, and we will try to answer your questions. But that should basically cover you guys for the rest of the week. If you go back to the agenda, you'll see that you have today and then tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. to do the first poster. And then the second poster you're going to be creating for Wednesday and Thursday is basically covering texture and value, I believe. So just make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on inside of the agenda. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one. God bless.